was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, a podcast about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula. Todd gets to drink. Todd drinks because he gets to live here. I drink because I have to live here. All sorts of fun stuff going on this week. I want to talk about television a little bit. I want to talk about podcasting a little bit. We want to talk about the weather a little bit. But first, we are going to recognize our sponsor. Our sponsor each week is the drink that we are drinking and a small local business that we enjoy. And this week it is Good Clean Fun Life Productions.
Yes, Good Clean Fun Life Productions. We have been at it for a long time, making websites, creating content for many businesses, many different sorts of businesses. And of course, my favorite and what I am the principal of is the video production. So always coming up with something new. Had a lot of shoots this weekend, which we'll get into, and some new equipment, some new toys that I've been playing with that have helped make things a bit more interesting, fun, and just continue to push the envelope of what people are doing, because the content that people want and that's being put out there and put in front of people, a la the Instagram or the algorithms, it seems to be ever changing as well.
It's funny. That's fantastic. I heard I was listening to a comedy podcast this week, and they said, comics used to sit around and talking about like which are the best clubs, and now they just sit around trying to figure out how to beat the algorithm, so that they can get their stuff out in front of people. And it is exhausting. I'm actually writing about that this week for my own Bagel Manifesto newsletter, that for a return on investment for me, it's really hard to justify working for Facebook or Instagram. I would much rather, I may start another podcast. I maybe would buy space on other podcasts. Like I might be better off just doing like advertising and things rather than, if I spend 4 hours a week on social media, that's 4 hours a week that I'm working for Mark Zuckerberg and not for Tony Russo.
Yeah.
And my conversion isn't like, I look at, I have, links, right? And so like, I don't know, like 30 people have ever clicked through my Instagram to my, Amazon book page,
Right.
And it's like, okay, so if they buy a book from Amazon, I get about $3. So putting in any more than $3 worth of work into Instagram is not a good return on my investment. And it's like, that is the beginning and the end of it. Like I have to find a way to enjoy it. And I keep trying, but then I sit down and I'm like, well, no, I just feel mean now. Like I think it radiates meanness.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about it on this show, and the one way posting and try not to engage more, or trying to manage how much you're engaging and getting wrapped up in what's happening. We've been doing it a long time, like I said, and we started out small and doing it for fun, and I feel like we still carry that philosophy, and we're very fortunate to be working with some people who value what we do. And
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you. And not only that, but they get to keep the videos you make.
Yeah.
It's not like they pay you money and you make a video and throw it out the window and no one ever looks at it again.
Right.
That's what happens to me. Like, I'm like, hey, here's my video, and people swipe past it and then it's gone. And then the 45 minutes I took to try to make sure my hair looked nice is just a wasted 45 minutes, because I'm not going to keep running the same video. But if you make a video for a business, they're gonna get use out of it. They're gonna get mileage out of it. In addition to social media, they can put it on their website, they can put it on their YouTube page, And it's not like with me where I only get one chance. Like, I wrote this thing this week. No, okay. And then that's it, because it's a timely article, and it may not be interesting to you in another 6 or 8 weeks. So,
well, it's worth mentioning at this point that we did talk about it last week, and we took some steps to promote ourselves a bit more.
Yeah.
Created the YouTube page, which, like, I don't know why we haven't done that.
Well, we were splitting it with Good Clean Fun Life because you already have traffic, but I think that this might end up being like our own niche. Like, people who aren't into the other things you do might still like this, and people who like this might not be into the other things you do, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so we do have our YouTube pages up now, and this, hopefully you're watching this on it or listening. I never realized the number of people, and my daughter's among them, that just puts on YouTube and walks away. Like, she listens to people play video games while she's doing other things.
Oh yeah.
And that's so foreign to me. That's what makes me feel like old, like,
yeah. I mean, our kids do the same thing, and I don't know if it's a generational thing, but they don't put headphones on either. So it's like the whole house is listening to it. And my son came downstairs this morning. He had a video playing upstairs. He came down, fill up water bottle, whatever. And he's like, wow, that's just from my phone. That's really loud. I'm like, son, I know how loud it is. I hear it all the
time. I had a little, each week we talk about one cool thing, and I want to talk to you about that in a second, but I have a Facebook post that I'm going to make, or I may make, that's, I think, a little bit plays into the algorithm, and I just wanted to look up the correct things. I was sitting in there in the pool this morning, working out, and the lifeguard usually brings music to play, and I guess somebody must have complained, because he used to play like 60s and 70s rock, like, yes, the Beatles, but also, occasionally Led Zeppelin. And this morning it was like James Taylor and the Eagles, and the easy listening type of rock and roll. And I was thinking about people complaining, about Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin is about as old as me. I think they started making records in 1968. I was born in 1970. And so, and I'm 50, right? I'm 51.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is 51-year-old music. What were 51-year-olds listening to when I was born? So
right.
What was being played when 51-year-olds in 1970 were born? Like, I'm listening to music from when I was born, and the only song I've even heard of is I Ain't Got Nobody, and that's an old one. But it's like Wabash Blues, Isham Jones and his orchestra, Say It With Music, Paul Whiteman and his orchestra. And
it's all orchestra stuff, right?
Yeah, big band. Not even, this is before big band. This is, and it's just shocking to me how different, like, music today, whether I like it or not, isn't a different animal from whatever Led Zeppelin was doing. It's kind of based on what Led Zeppelin was doing, but this stuff from the 1920s is not based on anything except 6 old white men who are like, maybe we'll stop playing Beethoven for a while,
Right.
There's
and then the only place that you could listen to it is you'd have to go somewhere to listen to an orchestra, so that the coordination involved in just listening to music in the 20s.
Yeah, not even radio in most places. You could have a Victrola, and that would be the beginning. And it's just, I don't know, it's just I would like to challenge people to look at what song was the number one hit, when they were born.
And then it always begs the question is, what will the babies that are born today be listening to in 50 years?
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be like I said, today isn't so much radically different from 1970 as far as like, music is a freer thing now. More people are making what they want. And certainly now that now that Black people are allowed to make music, publicly, that has certainly changed. So I feel like the 90s is really, even though I know that people who like rap and hip hop and R&B, might look a little snidely at the 90s, but I feel like the 90s was the watershed, and now people are just making whatever they want.
90s were amazing. I saw an interesting factoid that 1 year in the 90s, every Billboard Top 100 #1 was by a Black artist.
Oh, wow.
For 1 year. And there's been plenty before and since then, but I think that's a good testament to it being a watershed, and the kind of the ultimate years of music.
I'm looking at the top 100 from 1970, and there are like 3 good songs on it. It's tough. The top 5, Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel, Close to You by the Carpenters, American Woman by the Guess Who, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by BJ Tompkins, and War by Edwin Starr. So two songs that aren't bad, but it's not. There's a lot of, this is where music started to get very soft. I mean, Let It Be. Anyway, I don't want to spend all day reading this list. It was just something that occurred to me. Like things like that get traction on social media, but that doesn't make people buy murder books from me. You know what I mean?
It might. Hey, this murder writer guy likes Led Zeppelin and was complaining at the pool.
I'm actually not even nuts about Led Zeppelin. It was a good example of, like, Led Zeppelin doesn't sound like, even to young ears, Led Zeppelin doesn't sound like whatever song I said, I Ain't Got Nobody from 1921, right?
Yeah.
Like if one of your kids were to listen to, I don't know, what was the Thor movie, right?
Yeah.
So if they were to listen to that, they wouldn't say, wow, I can't believe anybody ever listened to this. But you hear like, right. I ain't got no, and you're like, really? Wow, 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 wow. Anyway, each week we talk about one cool thing that happened to us because we lived here or because we work here. And I'm going to let Todd go first because I might not shut up about mine after I mention it.
Well, I think one cool thing that we got to do is we got to see one of our friends and people that we really enjoy listening to them play music. Kristen and the Noise made a return. She was out for a bit, and this is somebody who plays with her band quite frequently and year round, and is quite a hustler. And she was out with a low medical condition. Everything's fine. But about 2 months off, which was definitely a lot for her and the band. And they played on Saturday night. And of course, with the ridiculous weather that we've been having, or that happened over the weekend with the nor'easter, sustained winds of 20 miles an hour, gusts up to 45 miles an hour, pounding ocean, and we're up in Dewey at the starboard, which is a mile wide. I mean, a mile long and a couple hundred yards wide,
right?
Separating the ocean from the bay. People turned out, and people turned out to have a good time, and they put on a great show. And it's just I think people, if I'm making predictions about the summer, which we do all the way through, and people are going to be pent up and ready to go for this summer, or they have been pent up and they are now ready to go. And it was a good time. It's always fun to listen to live music, and it's even more fun to do it when you know the people who are making the music, and when everybody there is there specifically to have a good time, you know?
Yeah, I mentioned before, I've just written something about Dewey Beach, and they are expecting, kind of record crowds this year.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
expecting at least back to normal, busier, certainly busier than last year,
Yeah.
which was very busy indeed.
Yeah.
So for being like I guess a transitional COVID year, um, I'm still keeping
That's hard.
going.
That's hard for you to admit.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me to accept.
Yes.
But I'm getting out. I'm getting out a little bit. I'll be doing, like I said, my cross country trip this year. So there's
Hmm.
that. My one cool thing, and I meant to say this in the introduction. I'm an award-winning author. Dragged into the Light took the silver medal for true crime in the international publishers in the it's a bigger deal that I'm making out because everyone's very excited. Independent
Is
Publishers Awards, that's what it's called.
okay. So
Uh,
is the panel independent publishers?
no, the panel is true crime writers.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's really quite a big deal. Stephanie won it last year. So it's the way that I kind of to put it in perspective. Independent presses are like people like my publisher who puts out maybe 5 or 6 books a year.
Hmm.
And he won 3. I was one of 3 of his books that won
Oh, wow.
prizes. The Greyhound shared a prize they did that dog book. Do you remember they did that dog book, like best
Yeah.
dog stories? It was an anthology of the best dog stories or whatever
Oh,
on that one, and a history book about the eastern shore of Virginia, one for Seeking Publishing. But the other publishers also include university presses. So Princeton and Stanford are among the presses, as well as small, truly independent presses. So it's apparently a big deal. Apparently they send you an actual medal,
oh,
Stephanie
cool.
told me. And so I'll wear that on the show for a year or so, I guess.
You need to make a plaque, and we'll set it up, right behind
Yeah, yeah, it
your
is.
head with all of your other awards.
But I had been having a really difficult time, and a lot of times especially when you're in between projects, or you're working on a project and you're not really talking much about it, you're like, am I wasting my time? Like, I know my mom liked the book, I know my friends like the book, but it's
Hmm.
for a guy who thinks he doesn't need justification or attaboys from strangers. I was completely mistaken. I felt really, really relieved that a professional judge read this and said, yeah, this is one of the best books, one of the best true crime books that came out of an independent publisher this year. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
very,
fantastic.
very gratifying. Yeah. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit this week is tag, which is a sport on ESPN.
You didn't tell me it was on ESPN.
Yes, I'm sorry. It was on
Oh,
ESPN.
wow.
It's not like for disc golf where you can just play it in the park. All right. So there was someone had either posted probably on Twitter, something about professional tag.
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I've got to look to see what it is. And it's one-on-one. So there's a space, and let's say it's maybe 20 yards by 20 yards.
Okay.
And there are obstacles, tables, and things you can walk on and climb on and jump over in between the two of you. And one guy has to tag the other guy in under 20 seconds. It is almost fun to watch,
Almost.
but it is no, but also really poorly produced. So I didn't really watch the whole thing. So these are 20-second bouts, right?
Yeah.
It's a half-hour show. They
Yes. Yeah.
they have about, I don't know, 10 20-second bouts in a half-hour show, and then they do a lot of talking. And in this particular one I watched, which is where I was just flabbergasted, they
Yeah.
have a special timer that goes off and goes on. And there was a televised 15-minute delay while they were trying to make the timer work. And I didn't watch those 15 minutes. I just kept fast forwarding and fast forwarding and fast forwarding. And it's just two guys standing there looking at one another and the people talking. And I'm sorry, I forgot to turn my phone down. And the people talking, but there was also like this great athleticism where they would run up these steps and jump over the thing. And I saw a guy dive through the monkey bars to tag another guy. And that was fun.
Right.
But they should fire the announcers and just have somebody cut that up into TikTok videos or something, because I could watch 20 seconds of grown-ups playing tag. I can't watch a half an hour of 20 seconds of grown-ups playing tag and 10 minutes of people talking about people playing tag.
I think here's my theory. I think that's exactly what they're doing. I think they're making a televised TikTok content generating show.
Wow.
That is terrible, but it doesn't matter because they're still.
Well, I feel better about it. At least somebody is not wasting 40 minutes. Like, I cannot believe anybody ever gets so stoned that they can't change the channel.
Yeah.
Like, you're just watching people talk and stand there and look at one another. I mean, you may as well watch the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we talked about the evolution or de-evolution of television, starting with reality shows that are much cheaper to make. So here you have a show, and then, again, this is just my theory, that is, poorly produced, cheap to make, but you're leveraging views through the one time the guy dives through the monkey bars to
Well, because that's the other thing when I was talking earlier about before we started about comedians who were complaining about trying to figure out the algorithm. One of the things that Facebook, and I said that I've said it a lot of times on the show before, I don't like working for Mark Zuckerberg, but one of the things that if you get enough views, they will send you money. Excuse me. Forgot to bring something to drink, and I'm getting all dry mouthed now. It was ill-conceived.
Well, and it's also the part two of my theory is that it's also like bar television. People don't watch network TV at home anymore. And where do you watch TVs? Well, they're on at bars and in hotels and
doctor's offices.
And doctor's offices are even worse. But I have found myself on a number of occasions sitting and watching what's the name of that show? Like American Ninja Warrior. So similar type show.
It's a
obstacle course,
obstacle course. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah.
Yeah. So and you're just watching it. You can't hear the annoying announcers.
Yeah.
You stop paying attention when they're doing like the background story of how Susie is a teacher and works out at the local gym. But then when they're doing the thing, you're immediately hooked in and you're pulling for this person, to get
right. But then you can check out immedially and go back to your beer or your conversation or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And so these people have figured something out.
Yeah. Well, and also the teams were sponsored by like cryptocurrencies. So this could be like one of those bro sports that I don't really know about, but like everybody's super, super into.
Right.
Just like, they're just as beer pong and what was the other one that got so popular that was just a dumb game?
Cornhole.
Well, yeah, but cornhole is older than you think. I'm a cornhole hipster. I was playing cornhole a long time ago. It's a game. It was actually from Kentucky, and so my wife is also from Kentucky, so that's where I learned to play it a long time ago. I was trying to think of the other one that they made into like a television show. There's beer pong. Oh, and like disc frisbee, as I was saying with disc frisbee. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're fun to play. I've played disc frisbee. It's a lot of fun to play. I don't know how fun it is to watch, but it feels, I don't know, money laundery. Like let's invest in this team and then we can say that this is where all our money's coming from all of
Right.
the team merch we're selling. But that was it was bizarre. I encourage you to check it out. I don't encourage you to watch it. But punch in professional tag on YouTube, watch a couple seconds. I'm telling you, when they start talking, it's going to be for a long time. And I'm sorry. So one of the timer was down.
Yeah.
And that was, and like, it's tag. Can't you just have someone stand on the other side and say, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi? I mean, it's just.
Or just blow the air horn when 20 seconds
Exactly.
is
Look
up.
at the clock. It's not like you need the floor to flash and they don't know what's going on.
Right. Right.
So anyway, tag on television. I can't recommend it, but I can't tell you not to watch it. Also, a little bit from the not corrections, but adjustments department. I have been saying for years that that most drinks that you can use simple syrup in, you can use Saint Germain in instead. That is not the case with the mint julep, according to my brother Bobby. It's a little too boozy, and you need to throw in some simple syrup as well. The Saint Germain has a nice flavor, but it doesn't do enough to take the edge off of the mint and the bourbon, and you should add simple syrup. So that's correction. When you said the Derby,
Yes,
that reminded me to make that correction.
Mm-hmm.
And then pushing right along, I should have mentioned this earlier. Podcasting is over in the metaverse.
Yeah. That was a quick foray into some good numbers for the Dewey Raw podcast, and now it's just all gone.
Well, one of the things we were saying is like when it's almost very much like TikTok. When you first put your podcast up there, you got this spike, but then it faded like immediately. Yeah. And only 2 of my shows ever even got uploaded to Facebook. None of the Toddcast, none of Day Drinking on Delmarva. We couldn't even make it work. And it's just a testament to how buggy it was. And it's Facebook. It's like trying to get Google on the phone. Like if you use a regular podcast host, you can call the host and say, "Hey, my podcast isn't working." But like if it's working everywhere and not on Facebook, there's nothing you can do. If you go to help, it just says this is where you put your RSS feed and it'll work, and it don't.
It's not always that easy.
But this is the first thing I've seen them back all the way out of. Am I mistaken? Is there something else that they gave up on and walked away?
Oh.
I mean, they bought Instagram, so
yeah.
That was the only other place they were getting beat.
Did they kill? I don't.
It's interesting.
I know. Facebook Watch.
Oh, that's how they don't do television anymore either.
They don't. Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were. Yeah, because I thought they were making shows and all of that.
I don't think so. I think that was went the way of Quibi.
Ah.
Yeah,
well, it gets expensive to pay people to do things, and if you're not making enough money.
When you could just get idiots to do it for free and then make money off them.
Like me, absolutely. And along those lines, so I've been looking for work. If anybody has any work to throw my way, reach out. But I've been looking to get back into podcasting, and there are a shocking number of people who are advertising for podcast editing internships, like edit our podcast for free and then you'll get good at editing podcasts.
Yeah.
And you expect that kind of thing as a writer. Like they're like, you can work. We've talked about this 1,000 times, work for exposure or whatever. And,
right.
I've written for free to have a place to publish.
Mm-hmm.
I write for myself for free all the time. I write for some websites for very little money if they're going to publish something that I'm working on. But the idea of just editing someone's podcast and you can't even use that in your, in your resume, you can't even say, here's a podcast I edited, because you don't know. Because if they're not paying their editor, then the show's probably garbage. So it's not like you can edit it and make it sound like it's not a garbage show, run on a shoestring. So anyway, don't work for free.
My thoughts on that are it's kind of like when everybody decided to become a Facebook photographer, started a Facebook photography page. And there are people like your wife and my wife who who are very good and have either a side business or their whole business. But when it's just like everybody who had a camera decided that they were going to launch a site, I feel like that's where podcasting is right now. And the evolution in that is, it's like, oh, well, it's not just talking for a half hour. It's, it's piecing it together. It's making it sound good. It's promoting it. That's where we drop off. But, and so trying to find other people, and because of the popularity of podcasts, to convince them that like it'd be good for exposure is, I think that's.
I would host a show for free like this, or for little money. But the editing part is the one that gets me, because it's the least fun, it's the most work, and it's the least sexy. Like nobody's gonna say, "Wow, I didn't even hear them say once this show." Like no one's gonna notice that. So it's disappointing.
I think for you, Tony, what would be better, and I thought about this for us, just to do it back and forth, where maybe we should write some ad copy for the other person to read, so like you could write about a business or my business. I could write about you and your books and try to come up with fun and creative ways to do a little ad reads. So they're actual ad reads as opposed to, just talking off the cuff.
And also that way you would know in advance that it was your turn, and I would know in advance that it was my turn.
The only problem with this idea is I would benefit much more greatly than you would. It's like, it would be Tony Rosso writes books.
Yeah, check him out. Check out his books. Him out.
He's fun.
All right. Well, we're up against it here. Please subscribe if you're listening. Follow us, I guess it's now called. And if you like it, please tell other people so that they can like it as well. I did the newsletter last week, and I think that came out very well. I'll do that again this week. I have an extra day to get it done. That always means that I have plenty of extra time to procrastinate. So I love the extra 24 hours of procrastination that I have built into my week now. But we're up
check out our YouTube page too. Day Drinking on Delmarva.
Very cool. And that's all I got for this week. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, until next time, remember, at the beach,
it's happy hour whenever you say it is.